Hey guys, I'm RozaldVane, and welcome back to another episode of VLR, or Virtue's Last Reward, or Zero Escape Virtue's Last Reward. Last episode we basically did our betray option for the second round of this particular branch. The first playthrough basically is what I would call it. We did die. I think that was the episode before the last one, but I might be wrong. And yeah, we're just continuing off from playthrough 1 because that was the one that we kind of got cut off from finishing because we just didn't have the answer to that yet. So now we are going into the memory card we found from the laboratory. Yes, the laboratory had a memory card. We picked it up and we didn't check it out until now, so we're going to check that out in this particular episode, this part of the episode, to see what it reveals. And we do know that we have a second bomb in the laboratory that is there. And yeah, that will be mostly that. So let's get into it right now. So, just as Luna had said, there was a small slot under the screen, exactly the right size to fit a memory card. Within moments, the screen was filled with what appeared to be random letters. Wow, it is random. What is this? これは何ですか?
22文字のアルファベットが6行か。
1行目、3行目、5行目と2行目、4行目、6行目は全く同じ文字でできてるみたいだけど。
Yeah, 6 rows, 5, 10, 15, 22 letters across each one, but there are some repetitive letters in these things. Is this a word search? I actually like word search games, actually.
つまり、1行目と2行目の繰り返しになっているということですね。
うん。
Is this some kind of code or something?
でたらめな文字列とは思えん。おそらくそうじゃろう。
他にデータは？
ないみたいです。
So, all we're getting is this gibberish. Hey, Alice, you haven't said anything for a while. What's up?
四つ葉、これを見て何か気づいたことはない？
気づいたこと？
研修の時に見たでしょ？これに似たものを。
Excuse me, I'm drinking water. Training.
あ、そっか。これって。
やっと分かったみたいね。
おい、2人だけで納得しとらんで、わしらにも教えんか。
Alice sighed and stretched her neck from side to side.
これは多分、とあるテロ組織の暗号表だと思うわ。
Okay. I'm sorry if I'm taking a pause here in my brain. It's just there's so much variables in this game that just seems to be so random and out of place. Now we're introducing ourselves to a terrorist organization. I honestly think that, like, well, Zero Escape 999 was very encapsulated. It's very tight knit in the story, but here it's like they're just throwing everything at the walls. I just feel like so far. Well, in the first path, everyone dies and stuff, and then we're confronted and trying to find the truth in that one path. In the third playthrough, second path is literally just like some random ass like betrayal kind of situation going on. Here, it's like we're going some wild expectation of like a terrorist group being involved. Too many things. Too many things. And then there's probably like, I bet there's gonna be like some pseudo-science-y psychic thing like they did in 999 that's gonna be replaying in here, I bet. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be.
テロ組織？
クレイドールズっていう名前の組織。
Miradons. For some reason, I felt like I've heard that name before.
何なんですか？そのクレイドールズって。
世界を破滅に導こうとしている不穏な集団よ。
そいつらが使っているのがこの暗号表というわけか。
もちろんパターンはいくつもあるけど、これはそのうちの一つだと思うの。
I mean, the pattern is repetitive a little bit. Like the row 1, 3, and 5 are the same patterns, and row 2, 4, and 6 are the same patterns, so it's not much, I guess.
じゃあ爆弾を仕掛けたのは
そのクレイドールズのメンバーってことになりますね。
ええ。断言はできないけど、おそらく。
Damn, I have a ton of questions for you. But let me start with this one. What the heck does this thing say?
そんなの、わからないわよ。
What? Nani?
わかるわけないでしょ。解読するためのキーがないんだから。完全にお手上げよ。
Oh, I see. She's just saying like there's a key to how the pattern gets read.
四つ葉もか？
アリスがわからないのに私がわかるわけないじゃん。
そうか。
Not much we can do then. We can come back to that code stuff later. I've got another question. Alice, Clover, who the hell are you? Why do you know about this code?
それは。
You told me your job was to eliminate enemies of the state, or something like that. Just what the hell kind of job do you do? I think it's time you told us what you do.
悪いけど、それは言えないわ。
Oh, come on. Why not?
あなたが爆弾を仕掛けた犯人、クレイドールズのメンバーかもしれないからよ。
What? That's idiotic. Of course I'm not.
そうじゃないっていう保証なんてどこにもないでしょ。敵に情報を与えるわけにはいかないのよ。
I'm not your enemy. I'm your ally. I'm your friend. I just want all of us to get out of here. Just please tell us. Please. Kudasai. We need to find out who did this so we can all escape. But we have too little information. We need your help. Fine. Wakata. If you won't tell us anything about yourself, then just tell us about the Myrmidons. What else do you know about them? Really? They're not really gonna tell us about it?
ごめんなさい。
Oh, come on. And also, I'm so not surprised by the fact that, like, she won't say anything either. Because Alice has been kind of, like... Yeah, Alice has been, like, antagonistic in this particular branch for so long now that I'm realizing that nothing we'll ask from Alice will be given to us at all. We'll never figure it out from her. Instead, we'll have to figure it out in a different path. Like, a different branch will be what will give us the true answer of what she thinks or what she has to say, I think. Because right now, so far, it's been annoying because of the fact that, like, she's been hiding some really, like, informational stuff that's, like, very useful for us to understand things, but she's choosing to hold it off. Which is very frustrating and annoying, for sure. Before I could blink, she leapt up and ran out of the room. Oh, come on, really? Oi! Chotomate! Alice! Hey, wait! Alice! I took off after her. And we run through the whole place again. Oh, we're back to the garden.
いつまでついてくるつもり？
Until you tell me what you know.
だったら四つ葉に聞けばよかったじゃない。
Clover.
あの子が私の仲間だってもう気づいてるんでしょ？
Yeah? Well, yeah.
だったら
I wanted to hear it from you.
なんでよ。
That's a good question. Remember the crew quarters? Or this garden? We got paired up for 2 separate rounds. That means I've spent more time with you than anybody else here. Maybe that's it. I guess I'm just curious about you.
何よそれ。
The way he said it just sounds like he's interested in Ella. This is incredibly weird. It's just like he sounds like he's just actually just into her basically. She spun around to hide it, but I caught a blush of red on her cheeks. We walked down the path of where it ended next to the pond. I stayed silent. Alice sat down on a bench. We gazed at the smooth surface of the pond for several long minutes before she began to speak.
憎んでないの？
What? Why? なんで？どうして？
私はあなたを殺そうとしたの。
You mean in the AB game?
ええ。
Yeah, she tried to kill us twice now, actually. She betrayed us twice now at this point.
怖かったのよ、とても。
Scared of what? Scared of my character? Come on.
突然こんなところに閉じ込められて、わけのわからないゲームをさせられて。爆弾のことだってそう。あれを見つけた時、冷静に話してたように聞こえたかもしれないけど、本当は怖くて仕方がなかったの。
Where would you run to? It's gonna blow up the whole place, not just where you're expecting it.
それに輪をかけるようにあのことが重なって。
What do you mean?
クオークが倒れたって聞いて、みんなで医務室に駆けつけた時のことよ。あの時私、みんなが何を言ってるのかまるでわからなかったの。周りのすべての光景がなんていうか早送りの映像のように見えて。
Oh, isn't this the fast forward thing that we saw in the playthrough, the third playthrough? So basically, Sigma was studying or doing the puzzle for the security room, and when we finished the security room, suddenly our character collapses, and then things were moving in fast motion. And then as that happened, as that was happening, we collapsed, and then we blacked out, and then we wake up, and then we realize, oh shoot, you know, like something must have happened. So I'm assuming that Sigma got Radical 6 in the third playthrough, but then for some reason overcame it somehow. I think. But I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Alice is having that same symptom right now.
そのうち自分が誰なのかもわからなくなって、まるで自分が自分じゃないようなそんな感覚にとらわれて。
Oh, interesting. That was probably the Radical 6.
ええ、多分そうだと思うわ。その後のことはよく覚えてないけど、とにかく医務室で目覚めた途端、たちまちあの時の恐怖が蘇ってきたの。だから私は一刻も早く脱出したいって、そう思って、あなたが死ぬかもしれないなんて考えもしなかったわ。
I'm trying to think. She would have not had enough points, even though when she betrayed me, I think. She would be 1 point off anyway, so why would you be getting out with 8 points? You're not going to.
あなたが死ぬかどうかなんてどうでもよかったのよ。ほらね、憎いでしょ。殺したくなった？私のこと。
What? Do what?
殺しなさいよ。さあ。
What the hell, Alice? I'm not going to kill you. I don't even hate you.
嘘よ。一歩間違えば死ぬところだったのよ。
Come on. Calm down. No one's killing anyone. A single tear rolled down to Alice's cheek. Then another. And another, leaving shining lines across her face. When I reached out, I saw her tense just slightly. Slowly, I brushed my thumb across her cheek and off, taking the tears off with it.
どうしてそんな風に優しくしてくれるの？なんだか亡くなった父のことを思い出すわ。
Okay, that's so random that it's the father. Some father character. That's who you were after, right? The people who killed your dad?
ええ。
Did they have anything to do with the Myrmidons?
私が泣いたこと四つ葉に黙っててくれる？
Promise to not say I cried, and I'll tell you about the Myrmidons. That's so random. Ha! Come on.
もしも黙っててくれるなら口止め料として教えてあげるわ。クレイドールズのことも、それから私自身のことも。
Sure. My lips are sealed.
本当に？
What? Crying? I don't remember any crying.
そう。それじゃあ聞かせてあげるわ。
Alright, here we go. Long story of her just talking a bit. Alice took a deep breath and began. Here we go. A long, lengthy cutscene sort of thing. Not really. Wait, I have to read it? No, come on, stop it. Okay, I'll read it like normal because it's her telling the story. My father is Egyptian and my mother is French. They met while my mother was in Egypt on vacation and married shortly thereafter. When I was 3, we all moved to the US. My father was a scientist and his field was cloning. He was recruited by an American lab, which was why we moved. Both of my parents had used English around me from the time I was born, so I didn't have any problems adapting to the life in US. So her father is Egyptian, her mother is French. Oh, I see. I was confused. I was like, they met while my mother was in Egypt. Sounded like she had a third parent. I thought she had a second mother somehow. The reading just the way they said that was so random to me. She should have said it like my parents met while they were in Egypt on vacation. Or they both parents met in Egypt while the mother was on vacation or something like that. That would have made more sense to me in reading than freaking they met while my mother was in Egypt on vacation. Does not sound right to me in my head. Okay, so they married afterwards and then they moved to the US. Okay. It is interesting that the father is a scientist and his field is cloning, because that's it's an opposite direction of what 999's science stuff was going through, but also it makes a lot of sense why the whole Alice thing was in the US. But this might be fake, though. I think this story is fake to just make us assume that Alice has this sort of background when her actual background is probably more mysterious than this, I think, in my opinion, but we'll see. By my 9th birthday, we'd been there for 6 years. That was when it happened. In the middle of the day, my mother showed up at school. Oh? The mother does not look French to me. Unless she's, like, mixed, but then her nationality is French, maybe. Her eyes were red and puffy, and she didn't say anything to me on the drive home. When we arrived, there were several policemen there to meet us. My father had always been very punctual, has been always a punctual man. And when dinner time came and went with no signs of him, even I began to realize something terrible had happened. It wasn't until several years later that I finally learned the truth. My father's lab had been attacked by terrorists, and he had been kidnapped. For the rest of my childhood, my mother raised me by herself. I didn't realize it then, but it must have been incredibly difficult for her as a single mother alone in a country where any relatives were a transatlantic flight away. She did her best not to let me see it, but every so often, when she thought she was alone, the mask would fall away, and in every line of her face, I could see exhaustion and loneliness. As much as I missed my father, it was those moments that made me wish more than anything that he'd never been taken. Oh wow. Alex looks so different here in a weird way. Fortunately, I was an excellent student and did especially well in math. I earned a Fulbright scholarship straight out of high school and spent the next several years studying. After graduation, I took a job with the Department of Defense, hoping that they might have the resources to help me look for my father. Oh, she's like a CIA kind of thing? FBI, CIA. I don't know, like, it's kind of strange to see that Alice has some sort of background to the U.S. military stuff or U.S. Intelligence agency or whatnot, but it's kind of weird to me. But whatever. I was immediately assigned to the Special Office of Internal Security. Their purpose is to investigate and sometimes deal with terrorist organizations and other serious threats to the state. I could tell my mother wasn't happy about my decision, but she chose to remain silent about it. Eventually, I learned that the terrorist organization that had taken my father was none other than the Myrmidons, although at the time, that name didn't mean anything to me. They were suspected of human cloning. Specifically, it was thought that they had been using cloning techniques to copy their most useful members and expand their ranks. The Myrmidons apparently believed that they could use cloning to create a new race of humans. Now at last, I knew the reason for my father's abduction. I'm wondering if the terrorist is like Tenmyoji, considering that Tenmyoji has Quark, and Quark's probably like a clone that that he's taking care of, and he's trying to make sure that clone isn't like running rampant and stuff. But even then, this game also has like androids in this game, so it's just like I'm wondering if that plays a role into this, or if that's gonna get ignored and just be separated off into his own isolated branch without any means to ever going through that. The commander of the Myrmidons is a man named Left. We know his name and his gender, but not his appearance or age. The Myrmidons are closely associated with a cult name known as Free the Soul. That sounds like Quark's freaking thing about the Radical Six thing. We believe that Free the Soul provides their funding. But trying to pin any kind of misdeeds on the cult's leader, a man named Brother, is like trying to nail Jello to a wall. Brother is supposed to be fairly advanced in years, and rumors say he's so old he can't even get out of bed. Unfortunately, his mind seems to be as sharp as ever. At that point, I hit a wall. I knew that the Myrmidons had been behind my father's kidnapping, but that was all I could learn about them. Then one day, I got a tip that some of them were hiding in a building in the Nevada desert. I headed out immediately. Oh, so that's what she was. She was wearing that outfit in first in 999. So is that why she was there like that? On my way there, my car had some trouble, engine trouble, and stalled out. I was trying to decide what to do when an SUV appeared out of nowhere. I'll give you one guess who was behind the steering wheel. Sorry, I'm just seeing the scene and hearing her say what happened that led her up to this point of 999's ending kind of punches me in the gut in a way, because I feel like that story, the way that this happens, felt more like a mystery that I love to keep as a mystery than to be explained in a way that makes absolutely no sense at all to me at all whatsoever. It's like, oh, there's a building that has this weird thing happening, I had to figure it out, and I was have this back history of things, while in the 999 thing they says that Alice is like a mummified something. It's like, what do I believe in? Do I believe in the 999's mummified storyline thing about Alice as an experiment? Alice is an actual clone experiment? Or do I believe in the fact that she is actually a secret agent somehow? I just don't get it. Clover. Oh, yeah, she was driving. I forgot about that. That was the first time we met. There were 4 other people in the car with her, and when I asked them what they were doing, I got what was just about the last answer I'd expected. They told me they'd been locked up inside of the very building I'd been on my way to investigate, and that they were currently in pursuit of the people who had kidnapped them in the first place. My priorities shifted very quickly. After a short discussion, I convinced them to allow me to come along. My hope was to find the people they were chasing, who I was certain were the Myrmidons. In the end, however, we were unable to track them down. In fact, I still don't know who they were, where they might have gone. Eventually, I took Clover and her companions to SOIS headquarters. Security of... No. What's SOIS? We decided that involving the police would only complicate things. After some questioning, it was determined that the people who had instigated this particular event were not connected to the Myrmidons. We did, however, discover that the mysterious disappearance and subsequent reappearance of several children 9 years prior was connected to the Free the Soul. Oh, so the old experiment is being brought up as a part of that issue that this game is going through for this Alice. Ugh. I feel like it's just such a hassle just to try to connect that story to this story to some degree. Like it's attached to the hip rather than attached to the head in a way. Excuse me. There were also a sixth person in the SUV, although they weren't riding in it per se. A middle-aged man, who I'll just call H, Hungo, of course, for now, had been bound and placed in the trunk. According to the other four, he had been behind the disappearance of the children 9 years earlier. We also learned that his pharmaceutical company, a major player of the world stage, was effectively controlled by the Free the Soul. More specifically, I suppose, H was a member of Free the Soul and very committed to their cause. I don't think so. So why had he kidnapped all these children? Apparently, it had been part of an experiment designed to test the ability of certain people to access what's called the morphogenetic field. I don't imagine you've ever heard of it before, so I'll try and give you a quick rundown. No, dear God, no! I don't want this explanation. Simply put, these people can access sort of a field that allows your consciousness to resonate with the consciousnesses of certain other people. To be honest, it might be simpler to just call it telepathy. The SOIS had heard of this particular ability before and had actually used it in a number of investigations, so I wouldn't be surprised to learn of its existence. I wasn't surprised. I was shocked, however, to learn that these experiments had been carried out by a member of the Free the Soul. If that was the case, then Brother must have known about it. The thought of him discovering a way to control and harness the power was terrifying. It wasn't too long after the incident in Nevada that another tip about the Myrmidons crossed my desk. This time it claimed that the Myrmidons intended to launch a large-scale biological terrorist attack, labeling the biological terrorist attack as Radical 6 Investigation. That's what I'm thinking it's going to say one day. My bosses decided that we needed more agents to deal with a threat of that magnitude, and Clover was recruited. Because she'd been a test subject in H's experiment, we knew she had the ability to access the morphogenetic field, and we wanted to put that ability to use. Which she kind of does have that ability, yeah. After several months of training, she was sent on her first mission. She would be tasked with the infiltration and the investigation of a Myrmidon cloning lab. I was assigned to her to be her commanding officer. I hope that our investigation might also give me a lead to my father's whereabouts. At last, I had a chance to find out what had happened to him. I wouldn't let that chance pass me by. Perhaps that was what kept me from noticing the truth. The whole operation was a trap. Oh wow, Clover actually got caught. The lab was fake and Clover was captured almost immediately. I got there as fast as I could, but when I arrived, the building was only an empty shell. All of the conspirators, who had pretended to be researchers and the likes, had already fled. I searched frantically for Clover until at last, in a basement room, I found her. She had been tied to a chair, and on the floor next to her was another body. It was my father. Oof! He looked as if he had just been dumped there, and when I got to him, his body was already cold. He was covered in dark, ugly bruises. It wasn't until later that I learned that he had died from ruptured organs and internal bleeding. They had beaten him to death. As soon as Clover had been captured, a Myrmidon in a mask had come to visit her. He said that unless she wanted to end up like my father, she would leave them alone and tell her masters at this SOIS to do likewise. In retrospect, they must have known who I was and who my father was. That was why they killed them. Perhaps they thought they were sending a message to me. Or that once he was gone, I'd lose my reason for chasing them. How about both? They were very, very wrong. I took Clover with me and left. I tried to console myself with the fact that I had, at least, been able to save her. Sometime later, I received a call from the coroner. He told me that there was something I needed to see. There in the morgue was my father, cold and pale on a steel table. I could barely stand to look at him, and the coroner insisted. On his arm were 2 rows of numbers comprised of 8s and 9s. It took me a moment to recognize my father's handwriting. He had carved them into his own skin. Ugh. On his chest was another message, but there were letters this time and not numbers. Not many, just enough to make a short sentence. I love you, Alice. That is pretty devastating, actually. Yeah, if you know it's your loved one and they wrote their last message on themselves, it's like, it's kind of devastating to see that. I broke down crying right there in the morgue. They were the first tears I'd shed since the operation had started, and there were no stopping them. There would be no forgiveness, not for the monsters who put my father through this. They destroyed my family. I would make them pay, even if I had to die to do it. That night, I made a promise to myself. I would avenge my father. It didn't take long to figure out that the numbers he'd written were latitudes and longitudes. They pointed to a chemical factory that had been disguised as an abandoned building. Further investigation revealed that it was the mother lode we'd been looking for, the headquarters of the Myrmidons. I think my father might have known how things had turned out. Knowing he was going to die, he'd written the directions onto our enemy's fortress on his own body. He'd sacrificed too much for me to waste this opportunity with recklessness. This time our operation would succeed. This time, I wouldn't let my excitement put Clover or any other of our agents in danger. So we took our time, we gathered information, we did our research, and we planned. Finally, we were ready. God, this is so much reading. Honestly, this is too much reading for my throat to freaking go on. Oh, we are over time now. Okay. I'll read this one page and then I'll stop for a little bit and let myself take a little break, and then I'll continue to the next episode, I guess. December 25th, 2028 was going to be a day we finally set foot inside the Myrmidon stronghold. And this is the other page. Okay. I'll stop here for now, because my throat's killing me to just literally read this constantly. Nothing against it, but I just need a break. I didn't expect to read this much in like such a short amount of time. There's just so much going on in the same reading. I mean, I know what's going on. It's just kind of not great that there's just so much text that it's just like, there's so much text in this whole section. I spent like 10 minutes reading through this, and it's just not done yet. I sorely, dearly miss the puzzle games, the puzzle parts of the game now. We're still in the novel section. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next episode of Nobody Minds. Hope you guys have a great, amazing day. Good night to everyone watching this. I'll see you guys in the next episode. And, yeah, we'll read through the rest of this, and then hopefully we'll get to a puzzle for once, because I'm more excited to the puzzle that comes up next, maybe. I don't know when it's going to come up, but I really want to get to the next puzzle. To give myself a break of reading through a lot of these texts, because there's a lot of readings, and I have not stopped reading since, like, episode... Yeah, when did I last got to the... I think it's been about more than 5 episodes ago, I think. I might be wrong. But anyways, that's pretty much it. I will leave it here for now. And, yeah, see you guys in the next one. Roz, out.